The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Remake is officially on the way. Nintendo just officially announced it at their most recent Nintendo Direct, and now that the game is officially on the way, it got me thinking of what this game will actually look like. Will it be an honest remake with just updated graphics and maybe some barely new additional content, or will this be a complete overhaul of the original game and see a ton of changes? With that being said, here is my top 5 things that I want to see in the Ocarina of Time Remake. Number 1, fast travel. This entry solves a lot of the first-time players' gripes with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and that's the world is so large, but that the travel time feels like it takes forever, especially when you're looking for your next steps. To solve this, I'm suggesting a traditional Zelda fast travel system. We've already seen this done in almost every single Zelda game, so there are a variety of different ways Nintendo could go about adding it. My personal opinion is that they could add something similar to Majora's Mask. The use of the owl statues and using the Song of Soaring to travel between them is a very convenient way of implementing fast travel within the narrative. Since Kipora is also in this game, it makes sense to make him a more of a useful character, as a lot of fans strongly dislike him. What I really do not want to see for the fast travel system in this remake is something similar to what we got in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where Link just teleports. As it makes sense in those games, because he has the Sheikah Slate, but in this game it would feel unrealistic and would not make any sense, as he does not have a Sheikah Slate or any other object that would just teleport him. So, I would love to see something similar with Majora's Mask, where you use the owl statues that are at random places throughout the map, and you would use the Song of Soaring to teleport between them. And I think that Link would probably get this when he becomes an adult. Soon after he pulls the Master Sword out of the Temple of Time, he would come outside and see that Kipora is there to greet him. Kipora would probably mention how crazy and different the world looks like than when he was a kid, which was for Link just a couple minutes ago, but for Kipora has been years, and would probably give him some personal advice about what he should do next, which would probably point you in the story direction, but could also let Link know that he can call upon him anytime he needs him by using this song. And then when you play that song, it could act as either another form of Navi, like you get in the game where he gives you advice, or you could use it as just a fast travel system. I think Nintendo has a lot of leeway they could choose with this, or even if they wanted to use Athena as a different way of fast traveling instead of having to go everywhere. I do unfortunately think this system may be hated on by fans of the first version of Ocarina of Time, because this kind of defeats the whole purpose of a remake, because the world will be prettier, and instead of seeing that world by traveling through it consistently throughout the game, you'll kind of be passing by it using a fast travel system. However, I do think for first-time players who may go back and forth a lot and not really know where they're going, and may needlessly go across the map for no reason, it may entice them to keep playing, as they don't have to worry about that 20-minute travel time to and from every single location. 2. The journal system. For my second edition, I want a journal or log system. This system would help the player keep track of the story so far and what the current objective is. One of my biggest complaints with Ocarina of Time is that the game can be kind of hard to pick up and play after you haven't played for a while, as the game does not very clearly give you a direction, and let's be honest, Navi is not very helpful with that either. Visually, I would compare this to the adventure log in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but instead of the log being on the Sheikah Slate, it would be a little journal Link would pull out of his pocket. Could you imagine how cool it would be to see Link holding a little pocket journal and seeing all of your objectives and notes from your previous journeys in his handwriting? I think this would also be a nod to people who originally played Ocarina of Time and wrote down a lot of their notes to remember. I personally remember writing down customized Scarecrow songs when I was younger, so I wouldn't forget them, and even the code in Majora's Mask that the kids give you to unlock the downstairs dungeon. The 3DS version of Ocarina of Time has a system like this for the Ocarina songs, and I think they should return in the journal as well. Overall, I think this system would be very helpful to keep players on track, while still not making the entire game feel too easy, which I know is what a lot of people are worried about with this remake. This journal system would invite players of the most recent games to come back in and see something that's familiar, but also still not change up the original Ocarina of Time formula too much. I could very much so see Link getting this item very early on in the game, either via Saria giving it to him as a gift, or potentially someone else in the Kokiri Forest. This would make this inclusion not feel like just a random item, but still feel like it's something important, as Ocarina of Time tries to emphasize the importance of almost every single item. Number 3. The Light Temple. Now on to probably the biggest and least likely addition to this remake. I would love to see the Temple of Light make its first appearance in the game. I and many of others have always found it very odd that upon becoming adult, Rauru, nope, not that one, this Rauru, gives Link the Light Medallion for doing pretty much nothing. And as Nintendo has came out and said, the Light Temple was originally planned to be in the original N64 version that was cut early in development. I could see this temple either working as a full-on dungeon or kind of a freebie temple. If it were to be a full dungeon, I think it would be interesting to make the final medallion you must receive, and that the temple would put you through several of the enemies you have faced off during the game, either like a boss rush or just waves of enemies. And once you've completed the temple, Rauru gives you both the Medallion of Light and the Light Arrow. This would kind of make it easier to understand how Zelda just kind of had the light arrow, and instead of it being her that gives Link the light arrow, it'd be Rauru himself, the light medallion holder. Alternatively, they could keep the original order, and once you receive all of the medallions, Rauru appears and delivers Link the light arrows. And if you're going with the freebie temple route, it could be similar to the blessing shrines that are in Tears of the Kingdom, which are ironically enough also considered Rauru's blessings. While you'd walk in and it'd be a very light and white aesthetic, it'd be a very easy way for the game to explain giving you a free medallion, and would be a nod to the Of the Wild games and Rauru's role within them, and they're, as we stand, the most recent additions to the series. So for anyone who is seeing those, they would probably make a little more sense of what this would look like, and it'd also be a cool nod to how Zelda has aged over the years. Personally, I would like to see this be a very fully fleshed out temple. I just don't know how likely that would be given it wasn't in the original, and it seems as though this remake isn't going to be very faithful, but that they probably won't go super far outside of it by adding whole new dungeons. So I wouldn't expect this to be in the game, but it's something that I know me and many other people would love to see. And before we go on to the next item on my wish list, if you like this video and want to see more videos like this, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content leading up to the release of the Ocarina of Time Remake. Doing this helps supports the channel and myself, so once again, please like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of this video. 4. Master Mode. Master Quest was a variation of Ocarina of Time that was added in as the re-release on the GameCube version. This made the dungeons harder by adding more complex challenges and more tedious rooms, while also increasing the damage that Link takes by double and adding less item drops throughout the game upon other changes. This was also added into the 3DS version of the game as well. A different game took this on with the Breath of the Wild version. Breath of the Wild made it so item drops were significantly less, Link takes double the damage, and the whole world spawned even more enemies. So the Legend of Zelda series is not unfamiliar with adding a Master Mode, and I would still love to see either a Master Mode or a Master Quest version in this Ocarina of Time remake, whether it be how some games do it nowadays where you have to beat the game first to unlock it, or whether it be available at the very beginning of the game. Whether or not they choose to do this or not, I think it would add a bunch of new things that they could do, especially with any of the things they add in the game. Maybe certain quests require more things, maybe it requires going through layers of enemies that weren't there in the normal version, or maybe even if it switches around the dungeon rooms, as I know a lot of people complained that the ones in Master Quest on the GameCube and 3DS more so made the game tedious and not necessarily difficult. I think a lot of these things would make Master Quest or Master Mode be incredibly better than it was the first time around, despite how much it is already loved by fans. I think it would also be cool if they added different things like item usage, you can only use certain items in certain dungeons, or potentially making a song limit of how much you're allowed to use a song per in-game day, or something similar to that. There's a lot of different crazy unique takes that they could have on this, and I would love to see how Nintendo could expand on the Master Quest and Master Mode ideas that they've had in the past. 5. Additional side content. For the final entry on this first wish list, I have post-game/side game content. This could encompass a lot of different things, as Ocarina of Time had already a lot of quests and a lot of NPCs you could talk to, but could you imagine if they added even more? A lot of people complained as a lot of the quests felt kind of the same between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. They kind of just feel like fetch quests, but I could definitely see this being different with this new Ocarina of Time remake. With how many quests were in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and how much they had a variety of different kinds of quests, whether they be fetch quests, you take pictures for people, or you'd go fight enemies, I think Ocarina of Time has a very good idea of how they want to do this going forward. I think if they were to add different variety of quests, maybe even different quest types, whether it be follow quests where you have to follow someone around and escort them, like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, or if they wanted to experiment with a new kind of quest. Either way, I think a lot of this new side or post-game content could add a new variety for the Zelda franchise. I think it would be cool to see Ocarina of Time dabble more into what they had in the original version, maybe seeing the Star Fox Arwing make another appearance, or maybe even some more subtle nods to the Zelda games that have come after it, or maybe even other Nintendo franchises. I definitely believe we will see new characters or NPCs that mimic those of other characters from other games that came after the original N64 version. I think it would be cool to get more about the aliens that we hear about in Majora's Mask. I think it would be cool to expand on that idea, but at the same time, I could definitely see them still leaving that a mystery. I also believe explaining some greater context of Hyrule would be amazing. You get to see a little more outside of the Hyrule we get to explore, maybe even some slight mentions of Termina, or maybe some of other heroes that we play with in the future titles. I think it'd be really interesting to see if that makes an appearance in the side content in this game. But also, along with that, I think post-game content would be super cool, as it's not something we traditionally see in the Zelda franchise. Whether it be secret bosses, or getting to refight boss fights from maybe any of the dungeons, or maybe even the final fight, but harder, I think it would be very cool to see some new post-game content, as Ocarina of Time kind of ends in a flat way. There's nothing really much to do after you beat the game. As long as you've 100%ed your save file, once you beat the game, you don't really get anything for it. There's no recognition for it either. I think getting some post-game content, maybe outfits, maybe you can change the color of Link's outfit at any point, maybe it's something cool cosmetic like that, or maybe it's something like new quests, or new weapons, or something like that. Maybe it's a teaser for something to come after this game. Maybe they plan on making a Majora's Mask remake as well. I personally believe adding more side game content or post game content will make this Hyrule feel even bigger than it already felt when it came out in the 90s. There's a lot of stuff happening in this version of Hyrule, but at the same time, it feels empty at times. There's certain areas that there's only a couple people and they repeat the same dialogue. So could you imagine a more full version of this Hyrule with people walking around Hyrule Field, more people going in and out of towns instead of just wandering around the same town? We've seen this work very well with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, so why can't they do it here? I think it would make this world feel even more full than it already is, and will give a greater expansion onto this version of Hyrule. And with that being said, folks, that is the end of my first wish list for this Ocarina of Time remake. If you enjoyed, once again, please like and subscribe on this video, as it would help out the channel a lot. And if you want to see more content leading up to the Ocarina of Time remake release, please subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be a lot more to come going forward. If you have anything that you want to see in the game, or maybe something you want me to talk about in the next video, please leave a comment down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. That being said, it's been Cole, and have a great day, y'all.